Welcome to the Wednesday night service at Greater Las Vegas CSL. My name is Reverend Lauren Martin. Tonight's talk is entitled, What's That Over There? Could it be someone with a bigger house than me? Is it someone with a better job than me? Or maybe someone who has more friends than me? Or, on the other hand, is it someone who is suffering more than I am? Is it someone whose story is a bit more tragic than mine? Our brains are wired to categorize everything in our environment quickly and automatically so we can focus on the more important tasks. This is natural and required to some extent for our survival and our ability to cope in a fast-paced world. It is when we start assigning less than or greater than labels to these categories that we open ourselves up to pain. It is natural to compare ourselves to others as social beings so we know where we stand in society. Yet when this becomes the source of our identity, we begin to lose ourselves completely. Stephen Furtick suggests that the reason we struggle with insecurity is because we compare our behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reels. This has become more and more true with the popularity of social media. We watch people we love, people we hardly know, and complete strangers seem to live out their lives on social media only to fail to realize that what we're actually seeing. For the most part, people share their wins. The nice dinner they had, the newest gadget they got, the latest trip to somewhere fun or exotic, their one true love, their great friends, or their perfect-looking family. So we sit on our couches with horrible cases of FOMO, thinking that they must be so much better than we are, more interesting, more loved, or maybe wealthier than we are. Then for some of us who are trained from a young age to be competitive or told that we never will measure up, we get depressed. We get defeated. We feel lonelier or more filled with pain. All our old wounds are painfully being ripped open, causing all our old hurts to come rushing back to us in ways we could never anticipate. Sometimes we even start to feel jealousy and envy over what we witness and start to think negative thoughts about those people who didn't do anything to earn those negative judgments. Yet, if we talk to those people who just happened to catch a stolen moment of joy and post it on Facebook or any kind of social media as a way to help to make that moment last, we would find that they have pain too. They are lonely. They have someone else they look at online who triggers horrible jealousy or envy in them. And this happens because we only see what people want us to see. Even before social media, there are people who love to humble brag. I had a friend who would call me up to tell me how hard his new job was, all the time bragging about all the perks. He complained how stressful it was to always have to report to the most important people in the company, who thought he was amazing. He lamented on how hard he had to work because he was making so much more money. He had forgotten that the job he was complaining about was my dream job, a job that I had been passed over for repeatedly at the same company, a job I convinced myself he got just because he was friends with the right people, the same people who blocked my promotion. These conversations almost ended our friendship because even though he wasn't overtly bragging, he was talking about all the opportunities I wanted and not appreciating them. Every time we talked, I felt worse and worse about myself because I felt I would willingly take on all those complaints that he had just to have the chance at the job that I wanted. Without meaning to, he was being a jerk. In truth, what he really wanted was someone to be proud of him and celebrate with him, but was really bad at asking for it. Since I valued this friendship, I had to have a hard talk with him and tell him how I felt about the humble bragging. I told him it hurt me to talk about his job that I wanted, and I was still mourning not getting. I told him how these conversations trigger my feelings of not being good enough, because I was passed over for this role, even though I had been with the company longer, was one of the top performers, and often outperformed him. Taking responsibility for my own feelings, I told him I needed him to talk to me about these things in a different way. If he needed to complain about the job, that was okay. But to put it in a way that also pointed out how important that job was to the company was no longer okay. He had never meant to hurt me. He just never learned to celebrate his wins in a healthy way. He was raised to be very conservative with his emotions, so when he sought approval, he couldn't do it outright. He needed a way to celebrate that was less offensive in his mind, so he humble bragged. In fact, most people who humble brag don't realize they're doing it or how it affects others. Now, if he needs to talk to me like this, he sets up the conversation with, "Can I humble brag for a moment?" This way, if I'm not in a place to meet him where he needs me to be met, I can say no. I can also put up my boundaries so that I'm not hurt by what he says, because in truth, he's not a jerk. He's one of my best friends. We would not be where we are today if I hadn't set this boundary and seen him for who he is. The best gift we can give a best friend is to meet them where they are. Remember to see the God in them no matter what they're going through, and giving them space to feel their feels, even though we also need to remember to remain safe ourselves. Now, the people who brag just to brag are another can of worms altogether. Who wants to be around somebody who always has a fantastic story, or the newest toys, or the perfect Pinterest life? We had somebody on our team at work who would put time off on the calendar with a description of all the fun adventures she was going on. One day, my boss said, "If you need time off, just put it on my calendar. I don't need to know that you're kayaking in the ocean, Sue. I would rather just assume you're mowing your lawn and cleaning your house." I thought this was hilarious, and in a great way to point out how sometimes hearing about someone else's good can make us feel envious. It also allowed me to see both people in the situation as very human. My boss probably wished he could take time off to do something fun, but he just started a new job, and it didn't give him freedom with an overly busy schedule. Sue, on the other hand, wanted to share something exciting in her life. If we give people the benefit of the doubt, we could say she was just excited and wanted to share her good. Many of us that are bragging do so because we need to feel better about ourselves and hope that this will help us become more popular. We may not even realize we're bragging when we're sharing our good. Yet, those people who are bragging because they want attention, want to feel superior, or want to be valued by others often brag because they desperately need approval. They don't feel good enough on their own, or they really need love and don't know how to get it. For many, this is a sign they have forgotten that they are worthy just as they are, and God is their source. Their whole identity is wrapped up in the opinions of others, and they forget to value their own opinion. According to Lao Tzu, when we are content to be simply yourself, don't compare or compete. Everyone will respect you. There is no need to brag to get healthy love and attention. On the other hand, there are people who like to compare themselves to others' worst days. I once knew someone who said he liked walking by the homeless people on the street because it reminded him of how good his life was when he was having a bad day. Since he wasn't homeless, he was still doing okay. He was using someone's tragedy to feel better about himself. Now, I know all of you are probably thinking this is obviously a textbook example of a jerk. Yet this series, we are trying to look and see the God in people, even people who are acting like a jerk. Otherwise, we run the risk of being a jerk right back to them. Now, I'm not making excuses here or justifying behavior I think is inappropriate. I'm just asking us to remember he is also a divine being having a human experience. I was never close to this person, so I can't speak to his motivations with accuracy. But I can guess he was taught to compete and compare growing up. He may have felt inadequate at times, so instead of beating himself up about it like so many of us would, he sought out examples of someone who was worse off so he could feel like he had worth. Once again, this is someone seeking love and approval without understanding on how to get it and that he is divinely sourced. Another damaging way to compare tragedies is when we look at someone else's story and say, it's worse than mine, so mine has no value. For a long time, I struggled with accepting I was being abused because I didn't end up in the hospital. I only had bruises, no broken bones. He didn't stalk me when I left him, and I was able to safely leave. Another example of this is someone else might say, well, I only had a small patch of skin cancer, but that other person over there has lung cancer, so their suffering is more valid. By comparing wounds this way, we block our own healing. We dismiss our pain and invalidate our feelings. Sometimes we can minimize our pain to the extent that we block it and don't face it at all. Then our pain comes out in ways we don't predict or control, like anger, uncontrollable crying, or self-destructive or addictive behaviors. We don't need to compare our pain to others to heal it. We just need to accept it as valid and allow ourselves permission to heal and let go. To accept your pain as valid, independent of anyone or anything else, is love. So how do we stop comparing and competing with each other in a social structure? We become radically authentic and completely ourselves. Two things I like to keep in mind when I'm thinking about this is, first, the adage, other people's opinions of me are none of my business, and a great quote by Oscar Wilde, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. It takes great courage to be ourselves without needing approval. It takes courage to stand up and say, this is who I am, and I love me completely just as I am. Yet this is exactly what God would want for you. We are each a unique expression of God, and as such, we are valid and worthy just by existing. God chose to show up as each one of us, flaws and all, because that's what makes us perfectly imperfect and wonderfully human. Each of us has a unique journey towards self-expression. I'm not completely there yet, though an obvious example, my hair, took years of gradual transformation. I started with purple accents underneath my brown hair so that you could only see it when I pulled my hair up. Because I had a corporate job and I was afraid of losing it if I had unconventional hair color. I then gradually added more and more purple highlights, yet still keeping most of my hair brown so that in my mind, my job was still safe. But I never fully felt like me. I thought this was the way to straddle both worlds, though. Then the pandemic hit. As an introvert, I gladly stayed in the house for the entire 2 years, so I didn't get my hair done. By that time, all my gray had grown out on top, and my friends really loved the gray ombre. Plus, I could pull my hair back on Zoom calls and still look professional in my mind, so it was a win. At this time, I was in ministerial school, working on a project for my ministry, and I realized that since part of my ministry was to help people be their authentic selves, I kind of had to do that too. I couldn't keep being only half of myself. I decided to do a fade of the gray into the purple and blue because, once again, I can still pull my hair back and look professional on camera at work. Of course, then I won a trip to Costa Rica with my job, which meant I was going to have to meet the CEO. I had dinner at his table with him and his wife, and after a discussion about how I almost changed my hair back to brown before I took this trip because I was afraid of what they would think, his wife told me I was brave and that she loved my hair. I looked like a mermaid. I realized my fear of not being accepted as I was existed solely in my own head. I decided to go all the way with the colors I wanted. And guess what? I got a promotion with a big raise because for the first time in my life, I felt like myself. I was able to speak confidently and defend my position in an interview in ways I never have before. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. By being true to who we are, we show up with confidence and strength. We are brave in allowing our truth to be seen and allowing our light to shine brightly in a world that sometimes aims to dim us. So while you may not right now know who the real you is or be ready to take a big flying leap into a new form of self-expression, ask yourself, what can I do today to take the first step? Maybe meditate on who you are and what you want to be. Maybe do some inner work and get in touch with your soul and listen to what wants to emerge, especially if it scares you. Maybe freeform journal some ideas until you find the one that sets your soul on fire. Just take that one step to being even more you than you were yesterday. By allowing ourselves to be the person we are unapologetically meant to be, we are showing ourselves immense love. We are also opening up a safe space for others to be their unique selves too. And that is how we replace comparison and competition with love.
Here at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas, we are a mission and vision-driven community. We offer transformative educational opportunities, deep and meaningful moments of connection, uplifting Wednesday and Sunday services. We greatly appreciate your contributions that support the amazing work we're doing here in Southern Nevada. We have several easy ways you can contribute. We have text to give. Simply text the amount of your donation to our text to give number and you'll be prompted to enter your information. There's a link to our online donation page posted below this video where you can contribute by debit or credit card. And of course, you're always welcome to send a check to our office if that works better for you. All of your contributions go to support the great work that we're doing here in Greater Las Vegas community.
The monthly publication, Science of Mind magazine, is a treasure to be read and contemplated. Along with in-depth articles, there is a day-to-day spiritual support to be gleaned from its daily guides. Licensed practitioner Lynn Frankenberger hosts Adventures in Faith on Zoom, and you're invited to join in. This is a weekly group discussion that focuses on those daily guides and how to apply them. Check Facebook and our weekly newsletter for more details.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real, keeping it real. Keeping it real with Reverend Laura.
CSL Greater Las Vegas brings you much of your favorite spiritual music every Friday at 7 p.m. with Spiritual Soundscapes. Enjoy performances from CSLGLV vocalists along with special guest singers. It's music for your soul. Subscribe to the CSLGLV YouTube channel to get a convenient link sent to you for each musical performance. At CSL Greater Las Vegas, it is our mission to inspire spiritual discovery through community connection, exploration, and celebration. This mission supports the all-inclusive vision of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, in which we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation.